It's hot. The mic is hot. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm good, good. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. I can't complain. I'm back in the States, so I don't have to speak Spanish everywhere I go now.
You're in Colombia.
Yeah, I was in Colombia and Peru for a little bit, but
Nice, nice.
yeah. So
In
wait, are
Bolivia.
you speak Spanish, correct?
No,
Yeah, yeah, for
man.
sure.
He doesn't speak nothing, man. Nada.
No, not even a little bit. All right, well, let's get
That
into
was
it.
my first
Jason,
language.
really? Are you
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
States, or are you from are you
Yeah,
from?
born and raised in Phoenix, man. But my mom only spoke Spanish. Is all I knew. Took
That's
ESL up
crazy.
all the way to the fourth grade.
Oh, shoot.
Really?
Yeah,
Heck
yeah.
yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, let's get into it. So today we got Jaysen out of Phoenix, Arizona. I'm sure you're probably glad it's not as hot anymore down there, temperature wise, but maybe not about the real estate. But you're here. Y'all have a pretty freaking big team, and y'all scaled super quickly. I believe came from the nightclub scene, so you're gonna have a lot of good insight and good things to talk about today. So, Jason, if you can give yourself a little intro about what you've done and kind of how you've gotten to where you're at right now, just super quick, and we'll go through that story.
Cool. Yeah. So me and my partner Sergio, we're pretty much promoting nightclubs for like the past 10, 12 years. From there, COVID happened, so shut everything down. And we thought it was going to be a 2 to 3 month shutdown. And when it turned into a 6 month thing, we had already like flipped the house once. And we had saw that someone had made like a 30K assignment. We didn't know what it was really. So we were actually going to buy some trucks and trailers and hire some people to actually just start a transportation company.
Mm-hmm.
But a buddy of ours was like, hey, you already fixed and flipped. You kind of know a little bit about wholesaling. Why don't you guys dive in? So we were doing it part time. To be quite honest with you, got no traction whatsoever. And we're like, this shit doesn't really work. The reality is we were just doing it part time. We went full time on it. I think we committed to it in January of what was it? Was it 21? Yeah, January 21. We committed 100%. And our first year, man, we did over 4 million in wholesales, and then this is our second full year. It'll pretty much be our second year within January 2023, and I think we're having a tough year, just like everybody is right now. Tough's been really things have been really difficult just because we started flipping in the last 6 months. So
Yeah.
we had a ton of flips in our pipeline. We finally made some cash. We started buying a bunch of flips, and we just got crushed in the last 6 months. Since June we've been getting crushed. So we're just digging ourselves out of that ditch and trying to move forward right now.
Got it, man. So yeah, thanks for being transparent for everyone here. We're all going through it. We've talked about it numerous times. Like right now, this is the time that you're going to have to be able to adapt, get better. Obviously, especially flipping in Phoenix 6 months ago, because our buddies Colton, we share same friends. Colton Fast, and remember like in May and June, and they were like, holy crap, in June everything fell out. So I know you guys obviously going through it, but I think doing $4 million. That's what you said last year. Is that correct?
Yeah, man, we did $4 million. So what we ended up doing
crazy,
is
crazy.
yeah,
It was the first year.
yeah.
So I know you guys can figure it out. That's what I was getting to on it. So tell us a little bit about that last year. So like, what was your guys' main hires? I mean, you came in there. I mean, obviously, like you said, we met up in Steve's program. I think, was it early 2021 or was it a little later 2020? What was it about?
I think it was early 21. It was.
Yeah. So early 21, you started in the business, you got in there, you started, freshly in there, invested in the mentor and Steve, and like tell everyone here, because I mean, there's people that are gonna watch this and they're watching it like, hey, my first year, if I did 4 million, that would be a dream. But tell us a little bit how you started your team and building them up. Obviously, you came from a business type mindset, obviously doing those nightclubs, and you were going to do trailers, and then you had some other things going. Tell us what did you do that other investors didn't do, to get where you're at in that first year?
I don't think we did much differently. I guess you would say that we knew where we were weak at. Like we fucking sucked at sales, right? Like we knew that. We knew that from the gate that we're horrible at sales. So we took a lot of sales trading. So we had about 3 guys on our team, right? And they were like, oh, well, we're having a hard time like getting deals or whatnot. And we saw our conversion rate suck. She was like, hey, we just got to get somebody to teach us, sales. So we got on with John Martinez originally. We went out to he has like a boot camp in Texas. We went out there with some of our team. We did that. We learned a lot of things from there. We took Steve trains, sales training. He really helped us out. And honestly, I think if anything, we focused a ton. We focused a ton on sales training because I figured we had operations pretty well, and more than anything, we were really good at marketing. Sergio's just an operations genius when it comes to things. He could tell you to the cent how much we're spending on SMS, cold calling, our conversion rate. The guy has everything down to the T. So really, the only thing we were having issues was converting our actual leads. So we got that dialed in, and pretty much I think what really helped us out and initially, which I think it helped a lot of people out, is we kind of found our buyer before we found our deals. So, and what I mean by that, we were working with two institutional buyers, hand in hand. And, we were originally just in Phoenix, right? So we're getting deals for them in Phoenix. We're pretty much bird dogging for them 100%. And then we spread to Tucson. And once we got to Tucson, they told us, hey, man, you're getting us pretty good deals. Do you want me to give you your buy box? Because we're buying nationwide. And we said, hey, you know what, maybe we just reverse engineered everything. We pulled all the data and we went off running with all that data. We started cold calling nationwide, and we had a buyer when it was said and done. So it was fairly easy, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty interesting. And Chan, I'll let you go ahead. I just want to say one thing real quick is that's actually how I started and got my first deal. Is everyone got to find the seller, got to find it, and you really do. I tell them guys that's the hardest part. But the funny thing is I had a seller that I wanted to do a deal with, and I ran the numbers, and my buyer that I had, the one buyer I had, said, that's not a deal at that price. There's no way I'm buying that property. Long story short, Jaysen did something similar. I started marketing for buyers just to see before I even had a seller, where they're interested, how much would they be willing to pay. And one of the buyers literally said, do you have anything? And I told him about the deal that I got 3 weeks ago, or the seller I got that said price. And again, my previous buyer, the only buyer I had, said, no way. I told it to them. I said, this is what they want. The guy said, meet me tomorrow. I want to buy it. So that's how I got my first one. I think it goes into seeing that, hey, look, if you can find your buyers first, where you can start marketing, and you might be able to go back on some leads you already talked to and see if they're willing to pay for them.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to ask, Sir Jaysen, is when you looked into this hedge fund, was it just did you know you should do this, or was it I sold a deal to him before, or how'd you know to go that route?
So what ended up happening, I think here in town, right in Phoenix, we're in the guru mecca or whatnot. So a lot of our first deals, man, we JV'd with a bunch of the guys that have huge dispo companies out here, right? Keegley's one of the big one, and they're amazing. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you have a deal and it can be sold, and if it's an actual deal, those guys can sell it. They pound the phone. So originally we would just go to Keegley. Another big one here in town is Spencer, but my go-to guy, his name is Alex Wilkins. He would always sell all of our deals, and he's the one that introduced me to this fund. He's like, hey, they won't allow me to just send them an assignment, but here's a buyer, just give me some money on it. I was like, cool deal. I was like, hey, give me $5K. You can sell the deal to them, and that's how I met them, and I built a relationship with them, and it just kept growing from there.
Heck yeah.
So I would say that I ran into them accidentally, sheer luck at that point, because we were pretty much, our dispo process was letting these huge disposition companies sell our deals for us.
Gotcha. So tell us this. So we're there, Jaysen. You started getting deals coming in. Obviously, you started seeing success, right? And tell me, where did the company evolve to, right? So it's you and you and your partner, right? And where did you guys evolve? Where did you guys, what does a $4 million in the first year company look like? What did that look like for you guys?
Believe it or not, man, our spreads were huge, so it wasn't that big. So it's at this point, originally it's me, Sergio, one acquisitions rep, right? As we started scaling, we scaled up to 4 guys quickly. So 4 acquisitions reps. We didn't even know what lead managers was at the moment, so we never even picked any of those up. It was just 4 guys, a transaction coordinator, a VA transaction coordinator, and me dispoing and Sergio running operations. So it was literally maybe 6, 8 of us. in a small office, so it didn't really take much to do it. Granted, I think our spreads at that point, if I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would say our average assignment at that point was 40K, 45K.
Shoot, so 45K. So yeah, you just had the team built up, you had the people there, and obviously that paid off for the 45K. Now, what marketing sources were you using to do 4 million your first year?
Our number one marketing was SMS at that point.
Yeah. What other marketing sources are you using now, or were you using then? So I know the main one's SMS, but
so we started with the SMS. We picked up cold calling, just like everybody does. We started mailers. We started PPC. And, we were making a shit ton of money at that point. So it was very easy to just try this, try that, right? Somebody says, hey, do mail. We were part of CG, right? So as soon as everybody introduced us to Jaysen Lewis, it's like, hey, do mailers, boom. Spent 30K off the rip with them, right? Then say, hey, buy this data from Audantic. We ripped money there. What was it? I think it was like 25K their intro.
Yeah, 26K.
Yeah. So with them, PPC with Bateman, which he's awesome, by the way. But we were just started with the 25K a month campaign. So we were continually investing everything into marketing. And I think what we found out where we screwed up is that you need to start small and start one channel at a time, so that you could really, really get it done right. I think we went too big too fast. I think that was our issue.
Yeah, that I could see how trying to do 5 channels at once would be a giant headache, because there are different leads that are coming in. What did you guys do at what? Like, how'd you pivot from that? Did you cut some ones that weren't working? Like, how'd you kind of start to figure out a certain lead source, and what are you guys working towards now? No, I know you're just not just doing SMS.
Yeah, we pretty much just our cost per deal analysis, right? And we started looking at stuff, and I think on PPC, man, we blew through, I would say like 70K, 75K, and we only saw like 25 come back, so we knew that there was obviously something broken there. But we gave it the time, because that's what everybody says, and I know that to be true. Every marketing channel works. It just takes time, and it needs to be dialed in. But 6 months down the road of just losing money, we gave up on it for a while. We said, hey, you know what? We're going to focus on mailers. We did mailers for a little bit. We're actually for like 6 months, and we got some progress there. We got some good deals, but still, it's not dialed in. We're still dabbling in it right now, but not as much right now. Or, we pretty much just went back to the easy stuff, right? Like what got us to where we were at, and for us, cold calling and SMS. Obviously, you helped me out, right? You told me, hey, Jaysen, try Launch Control. We use Launch Control and Roar, so we use both of them actually, believe it or not. We like the ease of Roar, but Launch Control's hit a lot better. Their deliverability is a lot better, but Roar is a little bit more on autopilot, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So why? Yeah, to explain why you're using why are you using Roar Control? How are you using those together? I know you explained a little bit, but.
So Roar, what we're doing is we're reaching out to sellers with Roar, and with Launch Control, we're actually reaching out to buyers. So we're doing like the last 90 days. I would say like pretty much every 30 days or whatnot, we're going back 90 days and seeing if somewhere down the line, either PropStream or what's the other one that Sergio uses. Forget where he gets his list from, but pretty much we kind of double check to make sure we didn't miss a buyer within those.
Buyer Sonar or something?
Oh no, we had Buyer Sonar for a while, but we're not using it anymore. But pretty much we're repulling lists. We're messaging them, hey, are you still actively buying, things of that nature. Once somebody raises their hand and says, yeah, I'm actively buying, we're giving them the call and we're calling them, getting on the phone with them, trying to build a relationship. Like, what are you looking for? What are you paying? What does a good deal look like to you? And then just putting those deals in front of them right now. That's one way of doing it. So we call it 75 hard. We learned that from Ren.
Yeah.
And Ren's doing it by zip code, but we're doing it by weekly. So our goal is to get 25 new cash buyers every week, 25 realtors every week, and 25. So I guess flippers and then a buy and hold guy. So that's kind of what we're doing on a weekly basis right now.
I like that. So I have a question. So kind of explain to the audience too, because I don't think most markets are quite as crazy as Phoenix. What even happened when you guys started flipping about 6 months ago? Like, I believe it was maybe end of May, beginning of June. Like, talk to us about like the gravity of like really what went down in Phoenix.
But you could buy a house for 80% of ARV, put 50K in it. You know, you're in it somewhere around, let's just say 300, right? You're in it around 375 holding cost of, you know, your rehab, anything. And then you'd list it on the market for 4.25, and you're going to get 450, 475 for it over the weekend. Like, it was done. It was guaranteed. It was, you know, it was easy, man. It was pretty much like anybody could flip at that point. And literally within a month, we got the rug pulled off from under us, where like our market just dipped like 10% in a month. Like, it was like, it dipped 10%. And not only that, you weren't getting any showings. You're not, people aren't walking the properties. It's like, and I think everybody's just like at a standstill, like, what the hell's going on? It's gotten better. I definitely see it's gotten better. I feel like people are getting used to this is the new norm. But at the end of the day, what's really happened is, like, you know, before, I feel like some wholesalers, or a lot of wholesalers, took advantage of cash buyers because they could. You know, like, at the end of the day, like, if you're not going to buy this at 80% of ARV, I got 10 other flippers in line waiting to buy it. But you want it, yes or no. Where right now, it's pretty much on the other end of the foot. It was like, hey, I need this at 50% of ARV or I'm not buying it.
How are you guys still able to wholesale with the changing market? Like, I know you said you're texting buyers and launch control. Is that like part of your dispo strategy? Like, what did you guys kind of pivot to? Because now it's way different.
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, you know, as far as sellers go, before you could find someone that wanted to sell, now you need to find people that need to sell. So that's huge, right? Because no one's going to sell you their home at 60% of value without there being a huge need or some motivation there. That's number one. Typically see right now investors are buying anywhere from 60 to 75% of ARV. 75% of ARV is a brand new cookie cutter home that needs nothing, right? Tile, roof, stucco, like it's move and ready. Those guys are still buying at that percentage. But something that we've done to pivot is we're looking for end buyers at this point. So what we're doing is obviously we're reaching out to the cash investors, but we're reaching out to realtors in the area, saying, hey, I have a pocket listing. Wondering if you have a buyer that may be interested. And then the third part, we're kind of doing like a hybrid of novation where we're letting sellers know, like, hey, you know what? Unfortunately, I can't give you, in order for me to get to your price point, I need access to the property and I need to be able to list it to my retail investors. Something that I learned from you guys, obviously, you know. And
yeah, I was gonna say it sounds familiar.
I've heard that one before.
So we're doing a pretty much innovation pitch, you know. So I think as of right now, we're like 50-50. You know, if people don't have the time and they need to sell quick, we'll definitely get the deal under 60% and try to wholesale it for 65 to 70%. If they have time and we have access to the property, it's kind of like in move-in ready condition. You know, we're trying to do our best to innovate that deal.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So those deals that you're getting wholesale, do you like what keeps you from maybe like taking those down and wholesaling them to get them to an end buyer and closing quick on them?
The risk.
Mm-hmm.
I think the risk now is like, hey, do you want to risk it when I have 10 flips that we're finishing up still and getting on the market and getting those done? You know, for me, I think it's just better take zero risk at all right now and just, you know, dump them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were doing a ton of wholesaling before, but right now it's just not worth the squeeze right now.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
No, I don't disagree.
And also anyone, you know, we're going to go here for another 10 minutes. So ask your question for Jaysen. Again, they have a big company working out of Phoenix. Last year did over 4 million. Obviously they're struggling just like all of us right now and this year, but high level guys here. So leave some questions in the Facebook chat. If you guys have a question on YouTube, leave in there, we can see it. We'll get into it. But Jaysen, currently, what is your team looking like nowadays? What is that made out of?
So I think I think we have about I would say including VAs or just in-house.
No, you include VAs.
I mean, we have about 25 cold callers. We have two different camps. We have a camp in Egypt, and we have a camp in the Philippines. There's some pros and cons to both. I feel like the Egyptians understand our culture a little bit better, but I feel like the Filipinos just like work really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And they're priced right around the same price point. We're paying anywhere between like $3.50 to $5 an hour, depending on experience, skill level, and things of that nature. So we have that. We in-house we have 5 acquisitions reps, I believe, right now, and 4 lead managers in-house. We have a transaction coordinator with an assistant, and then we have 2 dispositions manager, which I'm sitting on one seat, and so is Frank.
Got it.
Nice. You have another question, Gino?
Yeah, I have one more question. So what markets, I know you're obviously doing a lot in Phoenix. Are you in any other markets, or is it just Phoenix right now?
So right now we're doing Phoenix, Tucson, a little bit of Atlanta, not much. It's just pretty much like old data that we have in there that recycles from time to time. A lead will come in there. But for the most part, it's Tampa and Jacksonville, Phoenix and Tucson.
So what's some through, like we've all during this podcast and I've seen on some of my YouTube videos, a lot of things are happening. People, businesses, a lot of things are changing fast. So, I think I was looking at, just to be transparent, Jaysen, with you, and it's, I've seen it for my 4 years of being in this business, virtually wholesaling, out of your, technically we virtual wholesale in Georgia, but I've always looked at, hey, like how much, because our texting system's so far down, we feel we do a very good job at it. Like how hard would it be to go to another market? And what do you guys like? Is there anything when going into another market like those areas, or is it just like I know these areas are hot? Because I know that's like kind of my thing. Like I know this Florida area is hot. Like why don't we just go? Like is there any other stuff you're looking at? Obviously, you need a runner to take pictures. You need certain things, but like, is there anything else you're looking at when you're evaluating another market?
So pretty much what we did, we have investor left cartel, right? That's one of the things that we used to help us this for. But we looked at, they have an area where they'll show you maps and where people are flipping the most and where there's mill deals going on. So we'll use that and kind of get our eyes in those cities or those counties, say, hey, there's a shit ton of flips going on in this area. It's like we should probably focus on that area, things of that nature. That's actually how we're doing our PPC, and it's actually the class that they were showing the other day, saying, hey, you know what, if you want to do PPC and you want to just go straight to investor lift, you can do these things. And we kind of pretty much took that, their concept, but we did it with cold calling. So that's how we came up with Tampa and Jacksonville or whatnot as other markets. The issues that I think you're going to run into, that we ran into a lot in your backyard in Atlanta, it's just comping, man. From one street to another, you think you got your comps right and you're looking at the house right, and you're sometimes you're way off in those 20-30K that you're off. That's pretty much your spread there, so you kind of get screwed. I'll be transparent with you. We had a hard time in Atlanta comping, and it was consistently comping wrong. I was like, holy shit, how are we getting this wrong? But
Atlanta's really hard. Like downtown Atlanta, yeah. It's like impossible.
Yeah, it's almost like you got to be there. So it's tough, but there's good spreads there. I know you guys do innovations there. It does well. So if it's your backyard, I feel like kind of like Phoenix, right? Like I know every pocket here in Maricopa County. I think it's kind of the same for you guys. You guys see a zip code, and you have a really good idea of what things are selling for in the area. So if you are going to go into a market, I would say, take some time really out, get to learn your zip codes. I think that's big. And besides that, just take your time with it. Don't dive in. Something that me and Sergio have, I guess it's a good and a bad that when we do something, we go all in, right? 100%, full steam, fuck it. Doesn't matter what happens. So we learned that, in the past, it's like, hey, like test it. Like, take a little bit of data, test it. Let's see what we get back from it and go from there. And that's honestly something that we're getting really good at. And when we're going to do something new, we test it. We take our time with it. We dabble in it a little bit. If we see it's working, then we'll jump in 100%.
I like that. I think that's the best way to do it now. The main things you're looking at, other than just like you said, the zip codes, like are you looking at any like metrics, like hey, what's the inventory level or all that stuff, or is it just the hot areas?
when we pull data, we'll look at hot areas. We'll see the medium home price, and we try to stay 10 to 20% under that medium home price, so that we know once we actually get it, we'll be able to dispo it.
Makes sense. Makes 100% sense. Chandler, you got any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question revolving around. I know that Sergio does a lot of like the call center stuff and the marketing stuff, but from a high level, you guys had like, I think I saw you post like you guys bought like maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was like 100,000 phone numbers. Is that was that right?
No, dids like for cold calling?
Yeah.
No, I think I think it's like 1,500 dids to 2,000 dids that we're running at one time. We've toned it down because the call center that we have in Egypt, it's like an all-in bundle. So you pretty much just send them your data, and they buy their own dids. They have their own they pretty much have their own seat inside of ZenCall, I believe. I'm not sure what they're using to dial.
Yeah.
But it's all included in the price that they give you. And I think right now we're like at $5 an hour with them.
Okay.
But you don't pay for the dialer. With ZenCall, I think the Filipinos, we still use our dialer, and I think we're at about 500 dids there, I believe, at most. But yeah, you burn those things really quick, man. You burn through them quick, and you got to swap them out consistently. So it's one of those things where you got to stay on top of it.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are some of the pros and cons of having like a company do all the cold call versus like having it in house?
What I saw is that in house we could control things a little bit better. We could train people a little bit better. I think you get better output when you do it in house. The only problem is like, hey, you want to really manage 25 people all the time, full time. On top of that, you got to manage the dialer. You got to manage the leads that they get in, because giving feedbacks on the leads that they're sending in and things of that nature. And again, it works, but I mean, I think at our highest point, we had about 40 cold callers. And it turned into a full-time job managing the dids, the dialer, and managing the people. It was really, really tough. And keeping them motivated. They're humans. They have good days, they have bad days. They're up and down every day. So sometimes you get one that sends you 4 amazing leads in one day, and sometimes they're a dud for 2 days. Like, hey, what's going on in your life? You're just trying to have conversations with them. So it became a full-time job, and I think Sergio got exhausted. He's like, hey, let me try to put some of the stress on someone else for the time being. So if anything, I would say is the lead quality. I would say that you're going to get better lead quality when you're doing it in-house as compared to when you're outsourcing it. But I guess you would say when we look at our conversion rate, we're still doing overall with the Egyptian cold callers, so that's why we're still keeping them.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Makes sense.
Got it. So we're left here, Jaysen. So just think for a second here. What would you like to leave the listeners with? I know obviously you guys are going through some things, and like us all. Like, what's some things you wish that you could tell yourself maybe 6-12 months ago, and maybe you can leave the listeners with? Maybe they're just starting out too, because you guys are fairly new. I mean, you're in the first year. So what's some things that you think you can leave the listeners with?
If anything, I would just say just dial in your processes, dial them in, know what how much you're spending to get a contract. That's a big one. That really opened our eyes when we were doing all the inbound marketing. We didn't realize how much money it was actually costing us to get a deal. But because we were making so much money, right, we thought everything was fine. It's not until things start going south, you actually start looking at every single thing, and then just mistakes are amplified at that point, right? Like, you see an error, it's amplified when you're not doing too well financially. So if anything, I would just say pay attention to your what you're spending to get a contract. That's number one, and pay attention to your marketing channel. See what's your best one, and hey, if SMS is your best conversion rate, man, dial that in and multiply
spending. Yeah, I like it. And so, Jaysen, as well, how can the people get a hold of you? If they have questions, they're watching recording, they're watching live, they want to know exactly how you do some things. Is there a way where they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, just Instagram. You could hit me up, and I always look at my Instagram. So if somebody sends you a message,
what's your handle?
Jaysen the Connect. And I had that because I was the table connection back in the day.
Hey, baby.
Hey,
We're gonna need that connect, man. We're gonna need that connect one day.
Let me know whenever you're in town. I don't go out much, but if you guys are ever in town, I'm definitely down to take you guys out.
Yeah, you need to go to. It was an Old Town mostly.
So we were always in downtown Phoenix, like all the Latin clubs, but I don't know what's
The
going on
Latin
downtown
clubs.
anymore, man. It's been a minute, but yeah, Old Town popping. Every time I see all my guys, they're out in Old Town having a good time.
Heck yeah.
Where's your office relative to Old Town? Or
We're
relative?
on Central and Thomas, so downtown Phoenix right now.
By the
Okay.
Suns, right?
Yep, right by the Suns.
Well, that's pretty
Heck yeah.
sweet.
Heck yeah.
So that
Well,
nice
Jaysen,
view in the back.
Going on, man. I think you dropped a lot of value in there, and I think for sure this is gonna be one I'm gonna go back on. I'm gonna send this to some people just because of the stuff you gave out. So appreciate that. And if we're in Phoenix, bro, we're gonna hit you up. We're gonna go out there, hit the Latin clubs, man. Start spending some,
Yeah, let me know.
baby.
All right.
Thanks again, and we'll talk to you. And guys, if you have any questions, reach out to Jaysen and leave any down below here if after you listen to this, and we'll make sure to get it to Jaysen. But thanks again, Jaysen, for coming on.
No problem, you guys.